We are looking at Diecast Masters model 85682, and that's the 966 GC wheel loader. But wait, there's more. We're also looking at 85686, which is the 966 wheel loader. They come in the usual outer shipping cartons, and onto the weighbridge goes the GC, and it's £2 5 ounces, which is 1.05 kilograms. The straight 966 version comes in the same type of box, and it weighs the same. Time to open the box and see what's inside. Well, as for all Highline series models, there's a nylon bag which encloses a tin. Only one end of the bag has an opening, and in time-honoured fashion, we always pick the wrong end first. Going to the other end, we can open it up, and then we can pull out what is inside. This is the tin for the GC version, and as you can see, the lid has a nice photo of the real machine working, and there is a picture of it on the side. What's always good about these tins is that there's always technical information about the real machine on the back. Here's the tin for the plain 966 version, and it has different pictures and a table. So what's the difference between the two real machines? Well, the 966 is a little bit more powerful, and the GC version also weighs less. In overall dimensions they are similar, although confusingly the GC is longer in feet and inches, but the plain 966 is longer in metric. So stuff that in your bucket and tip it. The maximum bucket capacity is much bigger on the plain 966. Let's move on and open up one of the tins, and we'll choose the plain 966. And unusually there's not a Diecast Masters mini brochure in the tin. After removing the packaging, we can see that the model is securely packed inside, and then you just have to carefully lift it out. No assembly to do, model complete out of the tin. And here are the two models, and let's put them on the weighbridge. And the 966 weighs 415 grams, and the GC version weighs just 5 grams more. Before we start, just a reminder that you can see a lot more about models on the Cranes Etc. website, and the link to it is in the video description below. Also, if you want to know where you can buy scale models, then you can click on links on the website, including those in the shopping mall. And listed here are dealers that sell models in countries across the world. Let's compare the two models, and you can see that starting at the front there is a difference in the front axle and driveline, and the differences continue through to the rear axle and the areas that surround it. There's also a difference in the modelling of the rear access ladder. The GC version of the model is also slightly longer, and that's not an issue of the camera angle. The wheels on both are very detailed with highlighted bolt heads. And another difference between the two is that they have different tyre tread patterns. Let's continue on by looking at the back of the machines, and you can see that the counterweights are very different on each one, and the rear grills are also modelled differently. Also, up on top the differences are quite marked. The details are different, and the GC has a yellow section and the 966 is all black. Let's move on and compare the engine enclosures. And firstly, the 966 has a much shorter wheel arch, and you can see that there are grab rails on the GC version. The grills are formed by graphics, and they are different on both models. Differences in the cab include the detailing of the rear windows, and the roof design is also different on each model. A smaller difference is that there are plastic grab rails on the 966. And the mirrors are different, but they're not supposed to be. The GC's mirrors have been fixed the wrong way round in the factory. Both models have got metal handrails all around, and they look reasonably thin for the scale. Both models have an operator inside the cab, with the 966 controlled by joysticks, and the GC has a steering wheel. An additional difference of detail is the light clusters, and the leading edges of the wheel arches are also different. Although the 966 has a much larger bucket capacity, both models essentially have the same front end and same buckets. In terms of functionality, the models are almost the same, and they have very free spinning wheels. The rear axle also has very significant oscillation. The steering angle is moderate and probably not quite as much as the real machine. Out on the test track and they roll along very smoothly, and if we set the steering you can see the kind of angle that can be achieved. One thing to note is that in both models the operator is fixed inside and you can't remove him. Here the oscillation of the rear axle is demonstrated. Wheel loaders are for loading, so let's see how the loading gets on. And the rams are stiff enough to hold any pose, and you can get a decent height on the bucket. The tipping angle is also significant. Going back down to earth is smooth enough, but you can't really get any carry angle when the bucket is lowered. What are they like loading trucks? That's a very good question, and here the 966 loads a US truck, and there's a comfortable enough lift height to be able to tip the bucket properly. That's the 966 at work, so let's also look at the GC. Another option for these models is to use them as loads, although of course with the operator still inside it's a little bit unrealistic. But you could also show the model actually being loaded on the truck. And here you see a genuine imitation real-life test. And you can see what happens when emergency reverse gear is selected. These are solidly made models by Diecast masters of the two versions of the Caterpillar 966 wheel loader. They are essentially different models with much different detailing, so it's good that they don't just have different number stickers. The functionality is reasonably good, although it would have been nice if the operators could have been removed. But overall these are robust, good looking models, and they are rated as very good.